All right, so these are the directions that you're going to get for your essay test. And over the years, I have relabeled and reorganized and done about everything I can think of at this point to try to get it so it doesn't scare you. Okay? We're going to break it down and do a step at a time. First step up here is the thinking portion. So in this part up here, you're not writing, you're not making essays, you're not forming paragraphs, you're thinking. First thing you need to think about is a definition of religion. And you all can have your own correct definition. Think of this similar to a DBQ, where everyone can have their own right answer. They just have to be able to explain to me why you're correct. And that's what you're going to do with this. The document-based ideas that you're getting are all the things we've talked about for 7 weeks. That's where you're getting all your information. Now, argue to me why you're correct and what you're thinking. So you're going to come up with your own definition. Decide for yourself what it takes to be labeled a religion, and not just an idea, or a cult, or a story, or something made up like Translorian religion. Okay? Think about the following questions while you're doing that. So this is still all the thinking part. Okay? I'm not asking you to just answer these and be done. These are some things you should be adding into your definition. What makes an idea a religion? What are the criteria? When is a religion no longer a religion? Or does a religion stop being a religion? We talked about several religions that had been religions at one point. We talked about Greek and Roman mythology, right? Was Greek and Roman mythology ever a religion? We got a I think so and a no. Did in those ancient times, did those people believe in those gods? Did they worship them? Did they make sacrifices to them? Did they try to keep them happy because they were worried what would happen? Did they have temples for them? Would it have been a religion? Now in 2020, are there really any people left in the world that really believe those gods are around? I mean, some people might say they do because they think it's kind of cool. They read a lot of Percy Jackson or whatever. But you have to kind of wonder at this point, do they really believe it, or are they saying it because they think it's cool? Anyway, whether they do or don't believe, does that make it no longer a religion? If nobody in the world actually believed in those myths anymore as being real, does that mean it stops being a religion? You guys decide that. That's part of your definition. Okay? Now that you have your definition, now you're going to complete the rest of the steps. Use your new definition of religion to decide which of the secondary religions. Now, which ones are secondary? Buddhism, Hinduism, Shinto, Greek, Roman, Norse. Okay, those are all the secondary religions. Essentially, it's everything except the big three that we've talked about. Okay? Which ones of those do you now consider being religions based on your definition that you just came up with? Okay? Now, important thing to remember is it doesn't mean you have to agree or believe in that religion yourself. For a moment, we have to put ourselves into a historic context. We have to look at the world through a historic lens. You're not basing this on your background. You're basing it on what we've learned about in the world. And as I've told you guys right from the beginning, I am not here to tell you what's right and wrong, what you should and should not believe, and I'm not telling you any of that stuff. I'm just giving you information so that you can start to try to make sense of, why do people who believe this, why do they act a certain way, and why do they act a certain way, and why do these people fight with these people all the time? And that's kind of what we're getting, okay? You're being way too entertained by my directions. So, you're going to make those decisions, and you're going to decide which ones of those you would consider religions. Maybe they all are, maybe none of them are, maybe half of them are, whatever it is that follows your definition. But you're going to argue that in your essay. In paragraph 1, now we're actually in the doing part here. You're actually going to do something now. In paragraph 1, you're going to write your definition of religion and defend why it's correct. Well, they need to have this because they need to have that because they can't do this because, all right? Are there areas where other people might disagree with you? Do you think every single person in this room is going to have the exact same definition? No. So why might somebody's be? That's where we get into the argument part, right? This is DBQ stuff right here. This is exactly what we did in the DBQs. If you guys remember back to 6th grade, we talked about Aztecs. We talked about, was it more important to remember them for being human sacrifice or agriculture people? Anybody remember that at all? We talked about, cutting out the hearts and throwing them down the pyramid and all that kind of stuff. And in that DBQ, you had to argue the other side. You had to say, well, some people might think agriculture is more important because of this and this, but they're wrong because of this and this. That's what we're doing here. Okay? Why are you right? Why is your definition the correct definition? And you can't just say, because I think so. In paragraph 2, you're going to decide whether Hinduism is a religion based on your definition. You're going to take the ideas, the characteristics of Hinduism, put them against your definition, and tell me in the end, is it a religion? Why or why not? You're not just going to go, Hinduism is a religion because it meets my definition. You got to tell me all the parts that meet the definition. Okay? Buddhism, Greek Roman myths, Norse myths. That's what your other paragraphs are. So by the time you're done, you have 5 paragraphs. I'm going to count those as 10 points apiece. It's going to be 50 points of your test. Okay? What's that?
15 sentences.
15 sentences?
Yeah,
You're going to write 3 sentences a paragraph? I think you better do way better than that. You can't do a paragraph, in my viewpoint, in anything less than 5, and that would be a pretty cruddy paragraph. Introduction, 3 body sentences, and a conclusion. That's.
So 25 sentences?
So that would be bare minimum, and we don't want bare minimum, right? We want to do your best.
Can we just do 3 sentences?
You can do whatever you'd like. I am telling you that you would fail.
Well, we did what you asked.
No, I asked you to do your best.
What if we did
Okay.
really good, but we only...
So this is what your directions are going to look like come test day. But we're going to start working on it today. So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to think about this part up here. Maybe you open a Google Doc, maybe you get out a piece of paper, maybe start just writing down some random ideas that you have. Make a bulleted list, make a T-chart, whatever you want to do to start getting ideas. I do not even want you to start writing it as a paragraph. I don't want this in big sentence form right now. All I want you to do is to come up with ideas. What do you think it takes to become a religion? Do you have to have certain things? Think about our big 3. Think about the other secondary ones. What are some things they all have? What are some things that only some of them have? Think about that, and I'm going to give you, let's see here, 10:36. I want 10:20. I'm going to give you about 12 minutes to start a good list. So get some things down in your list, get them written down, and then we're going to start comparing them. And this is going to be an extremely helpful part of your process, is talking about it in class here, so that you can get an idea of what other people are thinking and how you can use that. Okay? So we're going to come back in about 12 minutes and start discussing that. So get your list going. All right, so let's take a look at what you came up with for some ideas here. Let's see, do I bring my pen? Yep. All right. So let's start listing some of the things you guys came up with. What do you need? So give me one thing that's on your definition. priest. So could we say some sort of a human leader of some kind? Would that make sense? Because what if we don't call him a priest? What if we call him a rabbi or a pastor or a reverend or something? Some sort of human leader. What else? A god or gods? So some sort of supernatural power. What else? So you want a creation story. What else?
I think it is some kind of
What else? I see some of you had some pretty long, extensive lists. Yeah.
something has to happen to go.
So an afterlife, something? What else?
Need the rituals.
Got to be something you do, right? What else?
Does that have like a Bible, like
What else? Ah, you guys are like picking my brain here. Followers. What else? Go ahead. A belief in something? So beliefs? Yeah.
we need to have like a, not advertisement, but like, we need to have it like, you know, out there.
Yeah. Something you believe in, so we can put that under our beliefs. What else?
Sacrifice after.
Now we're just putting up ideas. It doesn't mean everybody has to agree with every one of them. Remember, we all have our own definitions. Now, again, but sacrifice, do you mean, I mean, that could mean all kinds of things to different people. That could mean, what we talk about with the Aztecs and human sacrifice. It could mean animal sacrifice. It could mean that you make sacrifices in your day to prove God's worthiness. It could mean all kinds of things. Yeah.
It's sort of like fasting, like once you're in,
All right. So that would be a sacrifice, right? Fasting is a sacrifice. Good example.
like take all your time.
Yeah. Unique. Yeah.
Like once you're in, you can't leave. So basically, like you're in there. Yes.
Anything else? Yeah.
Wait, God?
We've got that. That's a pretty good list, okay? So, again, you don't have to agree with every one of these. These are just some ideas that you may have in your definition. One of the things you should also put into your definition is, let's say you pare this down to 8 that you really believe in. You really believe 8 of these things should be in your definition. So then, part of your definition should tell me, do you have to hit all 8 to be a religion, or you need 6 out of the 8, or 5 out of 8, or whatever. You also need to tell me that, okay? If you think all 8, then you tell me they have to hit all 8. Because what that's going to do then is, let's just take 9, because it's right here. Okay, let's say you think all these 9 have to be in your religion definition. When you go and write your essay, you're going to have to tell me Hinduism either is or isn't, because do they have this, 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 this? If they don't, then you got to tell me it's not a religion. See what I'm saying? So you've got to tell me in your definition, do I need to hit every one of these, or can I hit 6 out of 8 and be okay, or whatever? That's how you're going to prove to me each of those other religions, are they a religion or not? Okay? So let me give you an example. Okay? This worked better when I was in room 8 and we could look out the back window. But imagine the back of the building here, the softball field. Can anybody imagine the softball field back there? On the dugout, there's that big painting of the Hemlock Husky, right? Well, I happen to believe that on the full moon every month, that husky comes alive and eats small children.
I have a question.
Is that a religion?
Yes.
Why? So we've got belief, supernatural.
Proof?
What's my proof?
Exactly what is your proof?
I have a book that says it. I wrote that in a book. That's my proof.
Second right.
Yeah.
Are there missing children?
Missing children, yes. Yes, there are missing children. Usually there's small, dark-haired boys. So, why is it or is it not a religion? Look at the definition you've got so far. Maybe you added some of these to your definition. Use that and tell me, why is mine either a religion or not? Yeah. Yes, I have a creation story. I have a story about how the husky came to life and how it happened. One of the language arts teachers who taught here a long time ago was secretly a witch, and she made it happen.
It didn't say that in fine print.
Yep, I've got that. So what else? The point is, you've got to think about it from all angles. I could just make up any story. Does that mean it's a religion? That's why you have to carefully choose which of these makes it a religion. Let's say I have to have followers. Okay, and I tell you, oh yeah, I got 30 people who believe me. Is 30 enough? Is 300? 3,000? 3 million? What do you need and why? Why do you need that many? And then that goes back to our Greek-Roman mythology stuff. If we try to figure out how many people really believe that anymore, if they don't have that number that you magically came up with, does that mean they're not a religion now? Because they don't have that many followers. So all of these things that we're putting down, these are good things to put down, but you've got to give me all the detail of what does it take? How many of these does it take? Holy book, does it really have to be written in a book? Can it be stories that have been passed down? Like the Norse passed down stories, oral stories, way more than writing it into a book. Same thing with the Greek and Roman. Okay? Even if you think about Buddhism, not necessarily written in a book. So on and so on. Proof, we got to be careful. Somebody in the first hour said it needs to be believable with the proof stuff, okay? Now, again, I'm not trying to tell anybody what's right, wrong, and different. But think about it in a historic context. Think about it from an objective point of view. if you told, even in the big three religions, we pretty much agree those are religions, the big three. So let's take something out of the Old Testament. Let's take the flood story. The whole world gets covered in water, the whole world. And one guy and his family make a boat that's big enough to hold all the animals, and when it dries up, they repopulate the whole earth. If you told that to somebody who was not a believer, when they look at you a little bit funny, like, what? Are you kidding me? Aren't there other stories of miracles that happen in the Bible and things like that, that if you weren't a believer, isn't that part of the whole thing, is it's faith? Didn't have that down here, did we, this time? So we got to be careful with proof or believable, because many parts of religions are that you have faith that it's true. So be careful with those kinds of things. We'll pick up more on here tomorrow, but for right now, I'm going to have you stand and spray. Question?
Ritual and sacrifice.